Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nintendo Pow Block here on the Boss Rush Network. I am not Eddie B. I am Corey Dirrig. I am your co-host, but today I am your host, and I am your only host today. We had some scheduling issues, and some people couldn't jump on, and it's kind of late tonight, and it's gonna happen, right? I mean, we did say that some of our schedules are gonna change, and that's why Expansion Pass has kind of been all over the place. And this show is kind of all over the place recently, and we're working on it. You approach 400 plus episodes of a podcast. Something is bound to change and bound to happen and bound to go wrong. It's not like you just have it all figured out and you're going to, have it all laid out every week. And so, everybody wish Ed some good feelings as he is dealing with his work stuff. And Ed, the show's not the same without you, for better or for worse. I'm just kidding, we love you sometimes. Anyways, so yeah, Nintendo Pow Block. If you're new here, hi. I'm not usually the host. I'm usually the secondary host here. You can find this show each week on Tuesday. You can support us on Patreon if you want, patreon.com/BossRushNetwork, or you can go to bossrush.net for all of our content, subscribe to our YouTube channel, rate and review the show, all that stuff. I'm not going to go through all of it. This is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter show than everybody's used to, just because obviously I'm the only one here, and I just kind of want to go over a few of these news stories, kind of tell everybody what's coming out, and I will answer the questions that are in the Discord, because there are quite a few. Join the Discord, by the way. A great community there that talks about all kinds of things, not just games, but movies and toys and collectibles and all that stuff. I guess this has been a busy weekend. Also, my son is sick, so that's been fun to deal with, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm pretty sick too, so that's exciting. Really trying to staple my eyeballs open right now, but it's cool. I want to do the show for you guys, the listeners, the elite block agents, as Ed so charmingly calls everybody. My weekend's okay though. I am very excited about some of these opportunities that we're getting. I'll get into it with what we've been playing, but some very cool things have been happening for us as a team the last few days, the last week and a half or so, actually. So I'm very excited about that. Also, Josh and Cordy, thanks for filling in for me last week. They did a great job talking about Shovel Knight's 10th anniversary, 10th birthday, and we are not going to leave this show without talking about that again, because they had their, what was it called, Yacht Club Direct or something, which I'm very excited to talk about in a little bit. Man, what a shout out to Yacht Club. I know we're friendly with them, and Celia is a friend of ours, and they've been on our show a couple times before, but I love Shovel Knight way before I even cared that much about Yacht Club. I'm going to be honest. Shovel Knight on the 3DS and the Wii U was awesome. It was one of the first games Ed and I ever, really kind of talked about, not on a podcast, but we just kind of talked about it in a Nintendo Facebook group somewhere, probably. So very excited to talk about that. Went over to my parents' house today, and we celebrated Father's Day and my mom's birthday. Cooked on the grill. I guess this is Snacktendo real quick. So we're going to talk about some food real quick. Grilled at my parents' house. That was fun. We had chicken kebabs with grilled peppers and onions, and we had some grilled asparagus, some corn on the cob, some burger sliders, some Italian sausages, grilled all that stuff up. It was really good. It was really delicious. I'm a big fan of kebabs. Let me tell you, the chicken kebabs, just I love grilled onions and green peppers. It was something I used to just like be terrified of eating when I was younger, and now I love them. I love them as long as they're like crispy and cooked right and good. Um, if they're kind of soggy, then I'm just like, yeah, no. But I want them like I want the black char on them. Get them real nice and toasty and crispy. I really like that. Chicken kebab's great. Uh, I'm not much of a red meat person, but the thing is with red meat is like I don't eat red meat really at all unless I cook it myself. I won't eat it at a restaurant. I don't get burgers from places. I don't like it. It kind of makes me sick, to be honest. So I have to cook it myself. And I don't know if that's just a mind thing or if something's really wrong with me. I don't know. I never really got it checked out. I really don't care to get it checked out because I don't eat enough red meat to care. But I seasoned up the sliders really nice and drowned them in spicy brown mustard, and that was great. And the sausages were chicken based, and they were also very delicious with the spicy brown mustard and the grilled onions and green peppers. So that was very tasty. Corn on the cob on the grill, though, by the way, you put a little bit of Lowry's seasoning salt and a little bit of butter in the foil with the corn and let it cook. Ah, delicious. I gotta tell you, Ed, you're missing a good snack tendo here. I finally have something to talk about worth talking about, and you're not here. It's fine. I'm sure you'll listen to this episode and just text me the entire time you're listening to it because that's what you do all the time. And then we had some cake, which was fine. I've been eating like garbage lately. I was doing so good, and now I'm just kind of eating like garbage. I got to get back on track if we're going to PAX. I gotta get PAX fit. You know what I mean? I gotta lose some of them pounds. And who am I kidding? Who am I trying to impress there? Anyways, yeah. So that's my snack tendo. It was very good. I'm actually gonna eat some dinner after I record this because we ate at like 3, and then I thought I wasn't gonna be hungry the rest of the day, and now I'm kind of hungry. And since I'm recording this on Saturday night, I can eat up until 1 a.m. Um, that's the arbitrary time I gave myself on Saturdays where I can eat whatever I want. So that's been really good. I've been really obsessed with pizza rolls the last couple months for some reason. They're just quick and easy and delicious, and it's probably what I'll have after this, to be honest, because they're quick and easy and I can eat them really quick. So but let's move on to playing with power. Playing with power is what we've been playing over the course of the week. I was not here last week because I was playing Destiny 2 The Final Shape. I was reviewing it for Boss Rush, and you can read that review right now. And I'm working on some videos revolving around that as well that will go up on the YouTube channel at some point. I'm trying to make more of an effort to make YouTube videos. So hopefully those will start coming out at least once a week, maybe twice. It depends on timing. But I want to be really more consistent with that. But I have to thank Bungie for providing a code for me and becoming a Bungie creator. Last year was a big moment for me. And them providing me a code was kind of like a full circle moment because, as most people may know, maybe you don't know, my content creation and podcasting kind of career, quote unquote, started with Destiny. It was a Destiny podcast. And, after we started that Destiny podcast, we started a gaming podcast, and then everything just kind of evolved from there. But it started with Destiny and House of Wolves in year 1 ish. I guess 2015 was when House of Wolves came out. So, yeah, I mean, I've been there since the beginning, since 2013 Alpha, the reveal at E3, and then the Alpha. Before that, in 2009, when it was teased / revealed in Halo 3 ODST. Destiny's been a big part of my life, and to review, The Final Shape, was awesome, and it did not disappoint. So thank you, Bungie, for providing that code. It was a pleasure to review the game. Something I could not have said last year during Lightfall. uh, my review only covers the campaign and the story missions that follow. It does not cover Salvation's Edge, which is the raid, or episode 1, Echo's first week. So it is just a spoiler-free review, except for points that were made in the trailers and the marketing materials. So if you want to check it out, you can go to bossrush.net. It was the camp. It's, in my opinion, and I'm not just saying this because I love Destiny, I truly think it is the best campaign they've ever made, with the caveat that you've been playing since the very beginning, or at least since Destiny 2 started. I will allow that as well. There are so many threads, so many ties back to these earlier seasons, earlier expansions, earlier games, lore books. Uh, if you are invested in Destiny, this was the payoff everybody was hoping for. And granted, it's still a fun campaign to play through if you haven't. Like, it's one of those things where, the campaign is great uh, to play through, and it's fun, and the characters are fun, and there's a cool moment at the end. But like, if you've been playing since the beginning and you understand, like, and it even hits harder if you understand the development cycle of Destiny. And I know this is a Nintendo podcast. I'm sorry, but I just want to get this out here because I didn't really get to talk a lot about it, except for on the Destiny podcast that I'm on, and no one's here to stop me talk about it this time. LaRon, I see you. See you. I'm just kidding. I love you, man. I even if you've been paying attention to like Destiny's development, right? Like, this campaign makes references to that. There's story points that there's jokes in it that make fun of Destiny 1's leveling system, Year One's leveling system. There's a joke about the boots, about finding better boots, which nobody is talking about, and it's driving me nuts that nobody is talking about it. Uh, and I don't know why everybody missed it. It was funny. It's so funny, and nobody caught it. Like, it's just, um, if you played Crota's End before the Taken King came out, and you needed the moments of triumph for Skolas, you know the story about the boots from Crota's End. Okay, and that's all I'm gonna say. Crow and Ghost makes some cracks at it, and it's funny. It was very heartwarming. We got some very personal stories, as well as a very epic adventure. And world's first raid completers are now canonical guardians in Destiny, which is also very cool. And not to spoil anything if you haven't played it yet, but if you're invested, you've played it already, so I'm not gonna sugarcoat it here. There's an Avengers Endgame moment in this game that made me tear up like a little baby. And the final mission is an Avengers Endgame level style mission where it's the first 12 Guardian event that takes place in the game. Usually it's 3 or 6, right? With raids being 6 and Nightfalls and other in-game activities being 3. And the story that ends it is just, it's perfect. It wraps up the light and darkness saga of Destiny so well, while also providing teases at what's next. And for the first time in a long time, and I said this earlier in another video that may or may not be out by the time you see this. I'm not sure when this is going to go out. This is the first time in a long time I've been excited about the future of Destiny, and we know nothing about it. There have been points where I'm excited about the future of Destiny, but we know what's coming, right? The black fleet is coming. The pyramid ships are coming. The witness is coming. Savathun has the light. Like, I mean, that twist in the Witch Queen was really a huge shock. And I did not see that coming. But, other than that, there's really nothing like super conclusive or exciting as this. I'm very excited for the future of Destiny, and that is not something I thought I was going to say 3 weeks ago. I really thought that once the final shape came out and we concluded the campaign, and I played it a couple weeks after, through the Echoes kind of campaign, and maybe did do the raid once or twice, and I honestly thought I was going to jump off at some point in a hardcore fashion. Of course, I'm going to keep paying attention to Destiny. I love Destiny. It's like, I love Zelda, but I'm not playing Zelda every day, right? I know they're two different types of games, but I mean, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild could go on forever. Let's be honest. Uh, but like, I can't stop thinking about what's next for Destiny. There's right now we're going through the Vex, or going through some sort of virus shakeup thing. There's a vampire hunter season coming with Fickrel and the Fallen that don't have a house. We're going back to the Dreadnought in the third episode. We might be leaving Soul. Exciting times in Destiny. This might be the most excited I've been for Destiny since the Witch Queen, to be honest. Like, oh man, I'm so excited for the future of Destiny. Again, I don't know if I'm going to play as hardcore as I have been. Not that I've been playing very hardcore over the last couple, like, year and a half or so, right? I've been keeping up with the storylines and the in-game stuff a little bit, but nothing like, I'm not chasing seals or titles or catalysts for guns or anything. I'm just kind of playing. But Destiny is this is the game we wanted this game to be 10 years ago. It's finally there. And I didn't even talk about Prismatic, which is the new subclass that allows you to combine the 5 light and dark subclasses. You can combine them and kind of mix and match different abilities and grenades and super abilities. And the suite of weapons is awesome. Like, I found the shotgun that is really awesome. And it's just an awesome game. And I it makes me feel bad for people who want to jump in and play it now that they've heard it's so good, that haven't been playing since Destiny 1, right? And I'm talking like from the beginning, not like jumping into Destiny 1 now and playing through the campaigns and jumping into Destiny 2 now. I'm saying like 10 years ago invested. Like, I feel bad for those players who don't get to experience that, because this campaign was for them. This was for us. um So I still recommend you play it though, because even if you don't care about the story, the combat design is impeccable. The new area, the Pale Heart, is the best environment they've ever made by far, in terms of, you know, it's a single player instance instead of, a public space. So they were able to do more interesting things within the space, which is awesome. It's just a great experience. But I will end it there, because I don't want to, like, take this. I don't want to make this a Destiny podcast, because I already have one of those. Uh, but that's what I've been playing. I've also been playing a lot of Tetris Effect in bed lately. Again, been becoming obsessed with Tetris again. So, the music in that game is incredible. My one gripe about the Switch version is that you can't turn it sideways, or like the screen vertically, and play it that way. Um, I can't believe not more games did not do that. All the old all those Namco arcade games, you can totally do that and play it like that. Um, and that would also solve the DS problem, right? For most games, I guess for like Zelda, like you had to shut the lid sometimes, but you can make that a toggle at some point, right? I think you can probably make that a toggle. But like, I can't believe games did not do that more often. anyways, Tetris Effect is good. I am also preparing myself for Xenoblade Chronicles. My journey through Xenoblade Chronicles will begin shortly, and we're also playing Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door for book club. So that will be, I think it's July's game. Yeah, because it's June. Stray is June's game for patrons. So Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door will be July's game for patrons, which means it'll be free for everybody at the end of August. So yeah, so I'm going to be preparing my journey through that as well. I hear things about this Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. Before it came out, everybody loved it. Perfect 10, the best Paper Mario game. After it comes out, people are like, why do we like this game? This game is tedious and long and not fun in the wrong ways. And I'm just like, thanks for hyping it up for me, everybody. I'm very, because I never played the original, so I'm not like, well versed in Paper Mario, but that's what I've been playing. That's what's been going on here. So read our reviews. Go to bossrush.net. A lot of cool things are happening. We're preparing for PAX West. I'm hoping a full team of us can get there and do some interviews and articles and stuff like that. I'm going to focus a lot on writing more stuff and doing podcasts as a side thing there. Because the plans I had for that were kind of all over the place, and it was a challenge to kind of get it all done, because what I wanted to get done, a lot of people were tired, and you can't really force people to do something when they're tired and it's 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night. We got a couple podcasts in, but I have to better plan and prepare myself for that aspect as well. So PAX West coming up. If you're there, say hello. We would love to see you. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network. But enough about that. Let's get into Fammy news. There's a lot of interesting stories this week, everybody. Whoa, gross. Let's start with there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories out there right now that are really, well, I don't want to say a lot of stories. I want to say a few very, very, very important stories. So Summer Game Fest was this past week, so I want to talk about that. We're definitely going to talk about the Shovel Knight stuff. We're going to talk about some of these other things that are happening for Switch. So let's start with Summer Game Fest, I guess. So Summer Game Fest kicked off with Lego Horizon Adventures, based off of the hit Sony franchise Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West are the two games that are out for that on their PlayStation exclusives. Guerrilla Games developed those. Very, very, very central to the PlayStation ecosystem. It's actually, I think, Sony's second or third best-selling franchise since the PS4 launched, which is incredible for a game like that. I love Horizon. It's my only platinum trophy. That first one is my only platinum trophy on PlayStation. Not that I play a lot of PlayStation games. If I'm playing a game like that, it's usually on Xbox. But anyways, Lego Horizon Adventures is coming to PlayStation 5, not PlayStation 4. I'm shocked that it's not coming to PlayStation 4. PlayStation 5, PC, and Nintendo Switch, day and date. This fall. I want to say, was there a release date announced for that? Let me open the story and find out. I think it just has a generic holiday 2024 release date. But it is a Lego version retelling of Horizon Zero Dawn. Man, I hope we don't get creepy baby Aloy. uh, it is very it's very cute. I'm very excited for this. I cannot believe that Lego Horizon is coming to Switch. Uh, but here's my take on this story. PlayStation is such a it's the and I know this is a Nintendo podcast, but just hear me out, everybody. Nintendo has kind of positioned themselves as the console for everybody, right? I think PlayStation, either intentionally or unintentionally, has positioned themselves as a premier brand, as a Apple style brand. This is where you come to get premier single player experiences like Horizon and The Last of Us and God of War, and these are all aimed at adults. And I mean, they have a couple kid centric things. Astrobot is probably going to be very kid friendly. That game looks really cute and fun. Ratchet and Clank is pretty. I don't know. I go back and forth if Ratchet is actually kid friendly or not. I mean, I think it's like preteen friendly, right? I mean, there's a lot of jokes about farts, and I mean, look at the title. Just look at the titles of all of the games alone, right? I mean, Rift Apart is clearly ripped apart, and Going Commando and Up Your Arsenal, and Quest for Booty. Come on, come on. You're telling me you don't know that these are Size Matters was the PSP game, so you know they have a very cheeky play on words that are aimed towards at least a younger a preteen audience that would find those names hilarious. Which, I'm gonna be honest, when the PS2 came out and those started coming out, and I was like 14, 15, it's hilarious. Going Commando, that's hilarious. That was a big term when I was growing up. For it was really funny. But they don't have like I said, Nintendo is a console for everybody. You look at their lineup, and their most mature titles are developed outside of Nintendo for the most part. Bayonetta, right? Technically not theirs, I know, but they publish it on Nintendo. They publish it for Sega, right? And Platinum, M-rated. I would say Xenoblade may be their most mature title. Maybe the new Zelda games are. I guess Metroid maybe, because you're shooting things, but like what franchise? Fire Emblem, I guess. If you're into waifus, maybe you just kind of accept that that's what that is and move along. But PlayStation doesn't have that. They have the mature titles. They have the titles aimed at adults and people who are looking for a premier gaming experience, and PlayStation focuses on that, and that's fine. That's great. I think Xbox kind of does the same thing, although they have a lot of IP that would actually benefit from having kid friendly games like Banjo and Conquer and Viva Pinata, and now they own Spyro and Crash, and they have a lot of IP that aren't being used, but they have those at least. And Sony doesn't really do that kind of thing anymore, right? I mean, I wish we would get a new Jack game. I wish we would get a new Sly game, but it looks like out of that, only Ratchet made it out, and then Astrobot is everybody's excited for that, but Sackboy kind of put on the shelf. This is a great way. Turn your mature franchises into like a Lego style experience, or you know, if you can figure out a way to turn them into kid friendly experiences, this is awesome. I think Lego Horizon Adventures is a great way to get what a perfect franchise too. Building the robot dinosaurs out of Legos, Like, I'm sure there'll be Lego sets that'll come out of this. I know they have that one of the long necks already. Uh, but you can see Lego sets coming out of this. The minifigures. I'm sure this game's going to come with an Aloy minifigure that is exclusive to this game. Uh, it this is a great way to get kids into your franchises, and Sony has always looked at PC bringing their games to PC as like, okay, we're going to use PC to re-release older games when the sequel is either being announced or coming up or about to be released, and we will release uh we'll release the sequel shortly after the PC version or like a year later, and hopefully the PC people will come over and buy a PlayStation to play the sequel because they'll feel FOMO, right? The audience they're missing is kids, because Steam, as different as PC gaming is, the games themselves are similar, right? I think building a PC is a privilege that adults with disposable income can do, and the games that push that are the games types of games that Sony makes or the types of games that Microsoft makes, not the games that Nintendo makes. I think they're going to look at Switch moving forward. I think this is a test. I think this is a test for PlayStation. I really do. Studio Gobo works with a lot of studios. Uh, who's the developer behind this game? They work with a lot of studios to do, either support work or different. They do different types of works for different studios, and so I know the big thing is that PlayStation hates Nintendo, and they have since the '90s. But also, the '90s were 30 years ago, and both leadership teams have changed hands multiple times since then. Uh, I mean, technically, I guess you could look at Miyamoto and Anuma, and that whole team is still there. But like fundamentally, the leadership team, the president, and the people that run the organization, pretty different. Maybe don't care. Maybe just don't care at this point. I know Herman Holst said Herman Holst and the team at Gorilla said they would love to see Aloy in the next Smash Brothers, which now seems like a total possibility, right? Seems like a total possibility. You could use the model. You could use a similar model that's in Fortnite, right? The cartoony style, which I think looks awesome. I would love a Horizon game in that art style too. But uh, I think Sony's looking at the Switch, and maybe potentially the Switch 2 is like, hey, we did a great job of growing up with our audience, but we did a bad job of getting new players in, right? There's always going to be kids, and Nintendo has, for better or for worse, has become the family console or the kids console or the secondary console that kids play because Mario is friendly, Mario Kart's friendly, Zelda is kind of friendly, Arms is kind of friendly, I guess. 1-2 Switch is friendly if you think that game is playable. My point is like Nintendo is very friendly, and a lot of kids play Nintendo. And if you want to get people into your ecosystem, you may have to sacrifice an IP or two, but this is how you do it. You create a separate game that is kid friendly. What's more kid friendly than a co-op Lego game set in the world that you've built already? This is a great idea for PlayStation. I am shocked that they're doing this, but it is a great idea for PlayStation. I cannot wait to play Lego Horizon. Um, and I'm going to play it on Switch because I think that if you want more Sony games on Switch, this is what you have to do. This you have to support it on the Switch. And I'm not saying like put Uncharted on Switch. That's not what I'm saying. But I would like to see Sackboy's Big Adventure on Switch someday. I would like to see Astrobot on Switch 2 someday. I think that'd be awesome. I think that'd be great. I think they could look at Switch the same way they look at Steam. Oh, you like Lego Horizons? You want more Horizon? Come buy a PlayStation. This is what the game really is. Okay, here's Aloy. Here are the real robot dinosaurs. Here's the story. You want to play it? And I think them retelling the story of the first game in this Lego game is the smartest thing they could have done, because now they can say, "Hey, that Lego game you played, here's the real version of that story, and you can play it right now." And it's PlayStation 5 enhanced with the patch that's 60 frames a second, 1440p. It's perfect. Great idea, Sony. I think that's the best thing they could have done. Yeah, it just has a holiday 2024 release date. So that is that. Let me pull up. Stephanie wrote a great article, a recap article of Summer Game Fest on Boss Rush. Let me find it so I can give you more information. I figure if we have an article on the website about it, we should probably use it. Summer Game Fest. Nope, nope, nope. Let's see. Where is the Summer Game Fest? Summer Game Fest, Alan Wake, Twisted Metal first. Oh, that's last year. Is it Summer Game Fest or Summer Games Fest? There's too many different titles on here. We gotta figure that out. Summer Game Fest. The logo says Summer Game Fest, so that's what I'm gonna call it. But I guess it would be under news. So let me look under that. Anyways, I want to say that this is Summer Game Fest was weird this year. I just all these conferences were weird. I'm not sure if I enjoyed them really at all. I mean, I enjoyed them, but like if I didn't watch them, which I didn't really watch Summer Game Fest to be honest, I just kind of whatever. So where is it? I thought we had a recap article on here. Let me go down through here. I thought for me, the type of games that I like to play, I thought the Ubisoft one was the best one because I think Assassin's Creed Shadows looks awesome, and I think Star Wars looks awesome. I think Star Wars is going to be incredible. Star Wars is going to be awesome. Star Wars Outlaws, that's not coming to Switch, but it looks really great. I can't wait to play that. It has the Starlink tech in it where you fly from planet to planet, which is cool. So I don't see the recap on here. Indiana Jones looks great too. Announcements recap. Here it is. Okay. I found it. So Lego Horizon Adventures was announced. Another Switch game that's coming is Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, which is just a Quidditch game. Looks interesting. I hope it's fun. I think WB wants to capitalize on the Hogwarts Legacy train as much as they can, because Hogwarts Legacy is an incredible video game. I hope Avalanche gets to make a single player sequel, because I think they could do a lot. And the Switch version is actually very good as well. If you haven't played it, I played it on Xbox Series consoles, but the Switch version I played about 10 hours of once it came out, and it's a great version of that game. Nintendo actually bought the studio that ported it. I forget it. They're based in Florida. Oh man, what is that studio called? They bought the porting studio that did that, hopefully to help port third-party games to Switch at some point. Neva was announced. This is the new game from the developers of Gree, which Ed and I rave about all the time. It looks beautiful. I think the main character kind of looks like the main character from Gree. So definitely check that trailer out. From the developers of Green Nomada Studios, Summer Game Fest showed off a gameplay trailer for Neva, an emotional 2D adventure game with puzzle and platforming elements. Follows a woman named Alba, bound to a wolf cub through mysterious circumstances. Together, they navigate a decaying world of finding to find their very own home. So yeah, it's pretty Gree like. So Civilization 7 was also announced, which they're the strategy game. It was announced for quote all major platforms, and it's coming out in 2025. All major platforms, but didn't specify. I think this game's coming to Switch 2. I think this is a Switch 2 game. Obviously, most people are going to play it on PC. The console versions are serviceable from what I hear. But this is a PC game through and through. But I think it would be cool to come to Switch. Just to have, I mean, Civilization, the one of the last Civilization games came to Switch, 6, I guess. Uh, I'm only talking about the games that are coming to Switch though. By the way, here because there are a lot of cool games that were shown off, like Black Myth Wukong looks cool, uh, but I Warhammer Space Marine 2. I love Space Marine 1. It's one of my favorite games on the Xbox 360. Uh, Metaphor ReFantasio will probably come to Switch at some point. But at this time, I'm only going to talk about the games that are coming to Switch. So, uh, let's see. I'm scrolling. There wasn't really a lot of Switch things announced here. Battle Crush is coming. It's a free to play PvP brawler with up to 30 players. We'll see how long that lasts, I guess. Free to play games on Switch really. That Star Wars Hunters game ended up coming out, and it's a Switch and mobile game. It really bothers me that like that sort of thing. I don't know, man. It's weird. Uh, Power Rangers Rita's Rewind is coming. They only announced it for PC so far. But Digital Eclipse is working on it, and Atari is publishing it. I would be shocked if this. It's essentially in the same vein as the Ninja Turtles game that came out, Shredder's Revenge, last year. The same type of game, the same. It's a 2D brawler, 6 players. I assume the Green Ranger is in here somewhere, although I think it's just retelling the story of the first game. I also think this is preparing people for that eventual reboot that's coming next year of Power Rangers, because they've had 32 years of continuity, I think 32 or 33 years of continuity. And the last thing is whatever Power Ranger series is going on right now is the last one in continuity. And then they're going to reboot it next year as like a new, like we're starting over, origins, everything, which will be really interesting. I'm really sad that the movie reboot didn't go anywhere, because that movie was really good. I loved that movie. It was very, very good. And the way they kind of like changed up everybody's personalities and kind of gave them more meaning, you know, I loved it. That Power Rangers 2016 and 2017 movie. If you haven't watched it yet, Bryan Cranston is Zordon. Ugh, so good. Watch it. Uh, the only thing I didn't like were the Megazord designs, but the rest of the movie was great. I can get over the Megazord not looking like traditional Megazord. I'm not one of those, like when Transformers came out and everybody was like, Optimus Prime doesn't have his mask on. He's using his mouth to talk. Shut up. He's not a flat front semi truck. Who cares? Shut up. I can't stand it when people whine. Although I'm the person that whines about Ninja Turtles all the time, so who whatever. Anyways, I think they're preparing people for the reboot. I think this looks awesome. I'm very excited to see how they tackle this, because they used the Rita design from that Once and Always Netflix movie that came out in some of the cutscenes, and she's talking to the Rita from the 90s show. So I guess we'll find out. Uh, Deer and Boy is an indie game that's coming that will definitely come to Switch at some point, I think. Uh, man, let's see. Not really a lot else for Switch was announced at Summer Game Fest. Very, not a whole lot. Man, it looks like Sonic X Shadow Generations is coming, which I'm really excited for. Sonic Generations was awesome. Sonic Generations they had it was like a mix between classic style Sonic and new Sonic, and it was awesome. It's still one of the best Sonic games to date, in my opinion. Although Sonic Mania and Sonic Mania did a really good job of you know being that classic Sonic as well. I didn't play Frontiers. I don't know. Colors was okay. Um, sorry, I was taking a sippy sip, if you will. Uh, so that's cool. I think Sonic Sonic X Shadow Generations looks awesome. Let's see. I know everybody's excited for the Alan Wake Night Springs DLC. Also the physical editions, which I think is also coming to Xbox Series X. It's only listed as PlayStation 5 in this article, but I think it's coming to Xbox as well. I might be wrong. I know Limited Run is publishing it, and they don't like to publish Xbox games. They don't like to do a lot of things. Like, oh, my thoughts about Limited Run I will keep to myself, because I know a lot of people within Boss Rush really love Limited Run, and I do not. They are a shady company, to say the least. Hyper Light Breaker was shown. It's only announced for PC so far. I'm very upset. I was very excited for Hyper Light Breaker. I love Hyper Light Drifter. Hyper Light Breaker looked awesome. Like they're moving Hyper Light into the 3D space, kind of like an action RPG co-op if you want. Roguelike. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It's an instant pass. If you're making a roguelike or a card-based game, God forbid you make both, it's an instant pass for me. It's an instant pass. You want to write in and ask me why or whatever, I'm not going to answer. It's an instant pass. So just keep it to yourself. I hate roguelikes. I don't have time to sit there and play the same thing over and over again. I'm a parent. I have a lot of responsibilities. I want to play a game and feel like I'm progressing and doing something. The roguelike I played the most was Dead Cells, and I played it for about 10 hours. And I only played it because we were talking about it on a show at the time, and it was one of the first games I ever covered professionally, quote unquote professionally, I guess, as a member of the media. I don't want to say a journalist because I'm not a journalist. I don't think any of us are journalists. But man, I hate that this is a roguelike. Oh, it frustrates me beyond belief. It frustrates me. It looks cool, but I'm not going to play it. I'm just not going to play it. I'm sorry. I'm glad we got Solar Ash, which was the follow up to Hyperlight Drifter. So, uh, let's see here. Valorant is coming to consoles. I don't think it's coming to Switch. It might come to Switch too, though. And that's it. That's Summer Game Fest for you. The other games that I was kind of excited for from Summer Game Fest, I guess, were let's see. I'm just gonna scroll. Star Wars Outlaws is probably my most anticipated game for the rest of the year, followed by Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think those games look awesome. Warhammer Space Marine 2 looks cool. I will definitely be checking that out. If I had VR, I'd be checking out this Batman game that was announced or shown. I think it was announced a couple weeks ago, actually. But Roger Craig Smith will be voicing Batman in this, who I think voiced Batman in the Arkham Origins game, I want to say. Uh, so that's cool. VR is weird. I I don't know. I'm not gonna dive into that right now. This is a Nintendo show, everybody. Um, let's see here. I know people are excited for Blumhouse games. I don't even know what that is. Um, I'm I know it has something to do with movies. I don't know what that means though. So I'm not a movie person. Somebody can explain it to me, I guess. Uh let's see here. What else? I think that was kind of it. Oh, the first Descendant looks kind of cool. Uh, Coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles looks cool. It is a looter shooter. Has a lot of really dynamic visuals. I don't know how much I'll get into it because I already have my looter shooter. It's I feel like if you're making a game as a service or a looter shooter or something at this point, and you're not called Destiny or Borderlands or the Division, why? I'm not trying to sound mean, but just why? That's all I have to say say about that for now, I guess. The Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess was announced last year, but they showed it at Summer Game Fest this year. It's coming to Game Pass in July. That game looks cool. I thought it was Onimusha when they showed it off, which would have been really exciting. Oh, my nose. Skate looks cool. I liked the original. More of a Tony Hawk person, but that first game was cool. Monster Hunter Wilds looks incredible, although I don't really care for Monster Hunter all that much. Maybe this will be the one that draws me in. Phantom Blade Zero looks kind of interesting. Uh, Although I feel like people have problems with that game for some reason. I don't know what the reason is, but I think people have issues with the studio that's making that game or something. I don't know. Somebody somewhere probably did something they weren't supposed to, and now everybody hates them. Uh, but yeah, that's Summer Game Fest. I don't really have anything else to talk about there from my standpoint. Man, this show's going way longer than I expected. Um, SteamWorld Heist 2 was at Summer Play Days, which I'm kind of shocked that Heist is getting a sequel. Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble was at Summer Play Days, which was kind of like the event that happened afterwards. Yars Rising looks really cool. That's the 40-year later sequel to Yars Revenge on the Atari 2600 or 5200, and Way Forward is making it. It's a Metroidvania with like power elements, almost like Destiny Super elements in a way. Like it looks really cool. Uh, am really, I really like what Atari is doing. I think Atari is doing some really interesting things in terms of they know what lane to stay in, and they're doing it well. And then they're kind of, they purchased a television. Uh, Sorry, my nose is stuffy. Hold on, everybody. Sorry, I muted myself. I My nose is really stuffy. I'm getting really sick. It's okay. We're gonna push through, everybody. Pushing through. Um I think this game looks really cool. Atari is doing some interesting things. They're bringing back retro brands, and they're purchasing retro brands that are uh they're kind of focused on this single A slash retro aesthetic lane. Um, you know, in television, they just bought that brand. They brought back, what was the brand they brought back? Hold on. I went to their website to find this out. I know this. I know this. They The brands they brought back. Oh, Infogrames. They're bringing back as a publishing label. uh, which is going to kind of publish what was Infogrames publishing? They bought them for a specific reason. Infogrames. Uh, Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out on the fly here. I remember, but I forget. Uh, Infogrames' purpose is to acquire IP and publish games across multiple genres that fall outside the core portfolio of IP associated with the Atari brand. So, uh, it looks like they're going to be uh, kind of doing certain um, publishing of, like, if Atari sees a game that they think looks really interesting, they'll publish it under Infogrames. Atari has some really interesting IP, like Lunar Lander. They just released. They're releasing their Recharged brand of games, which are like uh, kind of HD reimaginings of the Atari 2600 games. They own Digital Eclipse, which does a lot of like retro collection style games. Like they do a lot of classic games, like the Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. They did Atari 50. They did the Castlevania collections. I'm pretty sure they did the Mega Man collections. They do a lot of interesting, cool things. Digital Eclipse is a smart get for them. Uh, they own Roller Coaster Tycoon again, and then they're doing stuff like um, they're doing stuff like Yars Yars Rising, which is super cool. They just released Lunar Lander Beyond, Neo Sprint, which is like a classic arcade racing game. Uh, they just released a reimagining of Haunted House. They, they're doing a lot of cool, interesting things. I am fascinated by Atari right now. They really, I think for the first time in a long time, people are taking them seriously. And yes, they just released their classic kind of Atari VCS, which was kind of a joke for a long time. Uh, it's actually kind of an interesting console. It's just $300. If it was like $150, I would consider getting one. Uh, they released the Atari 2600 Plus, which is like their version of those Nintendo Mini Classic consoles, but it's a full size Atari deck that you can play old cartridges in, or you can buy reissued cartridges that they are selling for $20 a piece, and you can play those. And it's HDMI out or composite out. Uh, it's a classic Atari. It's really cool looking. It's got the wood finish on the front. It's very cool, very very cool. They're doing a lot of really interesting things, and I'm excited to see where Atari is headed. Uh, they did a really cool color um, puzzle game, which was really cool. Combinera, I think is what it's called. That game was awesome. That's on Switch. So enough about me talking about tangenting on Atari. They're doing a lot of really cool things. Also at a summer game play days, whatever it was called. Uh, or the Rogue Prince of Persia, which is being developed by the Dead Cells developers, Motion Twin. It's essentially Prince of Persia Dead Cells. It's a Prince of Persia roguelike, and I guess for, if you like Dead Cells, there you go. Ubisoft, I guess, did a smart thing. Um, UFO 50 is finally coming out on the 18th of September, which is it's PC only right now, but it's there's 50 separate video games on it made by a bunch of developers that yeah, it's cool. It looks interesting. I think people will enjoy that. Again, it's PC only for now, but I can't see it not coming to Switch. These are all, it would be perfect. It would sell a ton on Switch. Um, what does that say? It would do buku bucks on Switch. So that's Summer Game Fest. The Xbox showcase. I don't want to talk too much about Xbox here. I don't want to talk too much about Xbox here. because A, we talk about it all the time, and B, I know people have written in and said they're tired of hearing about Xbox on a Nintendo podcast, so I won't talk about it too much here. I think that summer showcase looked really cool. I would expect Doom: The Dark Ages to come to the second or the new Switch at some point, Switch 2. It looks really good if you're a Doom fan. Uh, if you have been listening to the show for long enough, you know that I played through Doom on the Switch when it came out, and that was an interesting experience. And I still actually really like Wolfenstein on the Switch. Wolfenstein 2 was really good on the Switch. Um, but I expect that to come to Switch. I expect some Xbox games to start coming to Switch. I know Call of Duty will end up coming over uh, starting next year, I think. So you can probably expect maybe Black Ops 6 to be a launch title. To be honest, if it's coming out, if the Switch 2 is coming out in March, like everybody says it is, I would expect Call of Duty to be a launch title there. Trying to think of what else was there that would make sense to come to Switch. State of Decay 3, maybe. State of Decay is huge. Um, I would expect Psychonauts 1 and 2 to come to Switch 2 at some point. Shocked they didn't come to Switch 1, to be honest. I'm trying to think. They ended on Gears, which I have opinions on. I'm a huge Gears fan, and as much as I love Marcus and Dom, their story is over. There have been 3 prequels to the original trilogy. If you include Judgment, if you include Tactics, and you include the DLC for 3, there have been 3 prequels to Gears 1. That scene they showed has been shown in cutscenes a couple times. Maybe not that exact one, but E-Day has been shown. And so I'm really disappointed that it seems like they're rebooting Gears, and like in a way, and I want to see what happens with Kate's story. I know people don't like Kate's story for some reason, and that she's related to the Locust Queen somehow, but you left it on an arc. Like, where is Gear 6? So I'm kind of disappointed that we're not getting Gear 6, but Gears of War E-Day looks good. I mean, as much as you can say a game with in-engine assets looks good, no gameplay. But Gears is Gears. I totally expect it to play like Gears. Although maybe they'll loosen it up a little bit. Maybe it won't play like Gears. Maybe they're looking at like how people played Gears 4 and 5, and they're like, people don't want to play like this anymore. It was quaint, it was cool in 2006 when Gears 1 came out, the cover based shooter and the tactical shooting, but people want to like run around and shoot their shotguns at people, and I don't know. I like Gears. I hope it plays like Gears. But even the way I play games, especially playing games like Fortnite and Destiny, I definitely don't want to be hiding. I definitely want to be more aggressive, and my shooter strategies have definitely changed since then. So I would say I would say expect something a little bit different from Gears E-Day. Something a little bit faster paced, um, something a little less cover based, and something a little bit more aggressive maybe. Uh, they are bringing a little bit of the horror elements back, which uh, is cool. Gears 1 was really horror based, especially like once you started getting into like the church and the berserker area, and that area before the train, and then the stuff they added to the ultimate edition, that extra chapter that was PC only at one point. So Gears looks good. Fable looks great. I wouldn't I wonder if they would release a Fable collection on the next Switch of, the anniversary of edition of 1 and then 2 and 3. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head if there's anything Xbox-ish related that may come to the next Switch. There were rumors that Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey remasters would be somewhere, either either at the Xbox showcase or at Gamescom. I don't know how true those rumors are. Uh, I've been saying forever that Lost Odyssey deserves to come off of the Xbox 360. It's the only place you can play it unless you have it backwards compatible on the Xbox One or the Xbox Series consoles. No PC port, no PlayStation version, no Nintendo version of any kind. Um, Mistwalker's games are impeccable and they are stranded. Um, and I hope, because Microsoft owns Microsoft, I don't know if they own Blue Dragon because there were Blue Dragon games on the DS. So I'm not 100% sure if Xbox 100% controls that IP. I know Akira Toriyama had some say in it, and maybe his estate still has some say in it because he did the character designs for that game, but I don't know. That'd be really interesting. I do know they 100% own Lost Odyssey. Man, that game deserves a sequel too. They left it on such a cliffhanger. Oh, they left it on such a cliffhanger. They totally set up a sequel. We're not getting it. We will never get it. But it is the best Final Fantasy game nobody's ever played. Those would be perfect for Switch. Psychonauts would be great for Switch. Viva Pinata would be awesome. I don't think Fable or Perfect Dark would come over. Those are too tech heavy games. So, what did Blizzard announce? Maybe Diablo 4 would make it to the next Switch. I wouldn't put it past them. Maybe it would. I think is Diablo 4 on last gen. I don't remember if it was or not. Um, but I don't know. Diablo 3 was a huge hit on the Switch, so I wonder if they would try at some point to get it there. Uh, yeah, so that's where I'm at right now on the Xbox showcase. It was good, not great. These are all things that we've seen before and are finally getting release dates. I think Indiana Jones will make its way over to Switch 2 at some point. Bethesda really seems, at least, you know, whatever. They've released games on the Switch before. Doom and Doom Eternal are on the Switch. Wolfenstein 2 and Youngblood are on the Switch. I wish they would have released the first one. Uh, but I wouldn't put it past them to release Doom, The Dark Ages, and Indiana Jones on the Switch as well. And if Nintendo gets their internet stuff together, Fallout 76 and Fallout 4 and Elder Scrolls Online would be great titles to have on the go, in my opinion. Uh, but that's the Xbox showcase. There's not much else there I should talk about. I don't think at this point. So, let's see, what else do we have to talk about here? We have Shovel Knight. Yacht Club's Games Presents is what it was called, not a direct. It was Presents, and very cool, very very cool. So they announced, new merchandise, live events, cameos, and more for their this breakdown is on Nintendo Life, by the way, that I'm reading. Very cool new things coming to the games that are currently in uh out there now with that they're supporting, which is what Shovel Knight Dig, Pocket Dungeon. Those are the two games they're supporting. I like Pocket Dungeon. I don't care for Dig, mostly because Dig is a roguelike. Again, I can't. I can't. I'm sorry. I love Shovel Knight so much, and I tried really hard to play Shovel Knight Dig. I tried really hard. Mechanics are nice. They're great. It feels just like Shovel Knight. But I can't. I can't with the roguelikes. And I know that I am in the extreme minority of that. And I don't fault Yacht Club for making a game like that because people love them. but I can't. I love Shovel Knight to death. Shovel Knight is one of my favorite games in the past 20 years. And Spectre of Torment, that expansion is like probably a top 5 platformer ever in my opinion. But man, cannot do the roguelike thing. They showed off more Mina the Hollower. It still has a TBD release date, which is kind of, I don't want to say it's worrisome, but I feel like that game's been in development forever. Uh, Especially because um, it was supposed to come out at the end of last year and it never did, right? And now they're just kind of pushing it, which, look, I want them to take their time because I want these games to be great. And I'm not one of those people that needs to have every game right now. Uh, but I just feel like Mina's been in development for a while, and I hope everything's going all right with that game. Like I said, we are friends with Yacht Club. Boss Rush is friendly with Yacht Club. Full disclosure there, but I just crapped all over Shovel Knight Dig, so you know. So there's the Pocket Dungeons getting the Paradox Pack free DLC this summer. Shovel Knight Dig is also getting free DLC called Wicked Wishes, which is cool. And then the best announcement, the one we've been waiting on for, oh god, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years. A new mainline Shovel Knight game is in development, and I'm very excited. I wonder what they're gonna do because I remember a long time ago, and I think it was like an IGN interview at some point. They said they were going to take Shovel Knight through the ages, so it was going to be like they're. I don't remember if it was like a joke pitch or whatever, but they were going to do like NES Shovel Knight, which is clearly what we got, and then Super Shovel Knight, and then Shovel Knight 64, and then you know move their way up through the ages. But if even if it is just a Shovel Knight sequel, I would be okay with that. I'm just glad they're making a new proper Shovel Knight sequel. And then on top of that, they're doing Shovel Knight Shovel of Hope DX, which is the DX treatment to um, the original game. So there's going to be all kinds of cool cameos, and you can play as 30 something characters through the campaigns, and they all have different moves. And there's the multiplayer games, and then there's the Ghost multiplayer stuff, and they're adding all kinds of cool things to it. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for Shovel of Hope DX and Shovel Knight sequel. I was going to call it Shovel Knight 2, but I don't think that's what it is. Uh, I'm very excited. I'm very excited for the future of Yacht Club. I think they've done some really interesting things. I liked most of the DLC for Shovel Knight. I didn't care for Plague Knight's DLC. King Knight's DLC was good, but not great. Spectre of Torment is the best thing they've ever made. Period. End of discussion, in my opinion. Uh, like I said, it's like a top 5 platformer for me of all time. I love the mechanic where you kind of use your scythe to swing from things. I love the movement. I love the combat. It's awesome. And then obviously Shovel Knight is what it is. Shovel Knight is great as well. The thing with the Plague Knight DLC is I think I just didn't understand how to play it. I couldn't time my jumps with the bombs. And I got really frustrated, and I tried for like, I don't know, I probably tried for like a good 20-30 minutes on trying to time my jumps with the bombs, and I just couldn't do it, and it was really annoying me, so I just stopped. Maybe I should go back and play that to get ready for whatever's next. Maybe I just was playing it wrong. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out though. I really liked King Knight though. Uh, I wish I still had my Spectre Knight shirt. I loved that shirt, but and then that got all stretched out, and then I don't know. I gained a lot of weight, and so it didn't fit anymore. So I think I donated it somewhere because I didn't think I was ever going to lose any weight again. Whatever, it's fine. So that's the Shovel Knight stuff. Man, my nose is really like my nose. It hurts. It's so stuffy. Powering through. Here we go. Let's see if there's any other news. Like I said, this kind of didn't get sprung on me, but I just didn't have time to write the doc up, and so let's see. The Ubisoft forward, anything there? Oh, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is getting the Divine Trials DLC, which is out now actually, and then there's going to be story DLC this fall. Uh, that game is awesome. I highly recommend it. It doesn't matter what platform you have. I just really, really, really recommend that game. It's so cool. Uh, definitely try it out. Um, I'm trying to see if there's anything else that's worth talking about from the Ubisoft thing. I don't think. I mean, Just Dance, I guess, but I think I think that might be. I think that might be it. Uh, Man, Indiana Jones looks so good. Oh, I bet Life is Strange is coming. Double exposure. I bet that comes to Switch at some point, which is the new Life is Strange game that is stars Max from the first game. But I think that's it. So let me check one more thing real quick, and then we'll get into what's coming out this week. There's not going to be any descriptions this week, guys. I just ugh, I just didn't get to the point to write them down, so we'll just go over the games. I think let's see, any news here. I By the way, shout out to Nintendo Life because they have a really great news. Like you just click on news and it's just there. It's just there. Um and it's just really nice. So I'm gonna take another sip here, everybody. So if you take a little bit, don't check your phones. Maybe check your phones. I don't know. Here's your break. Here's your intermission, I guess. All right. Caffeine is very good for you at 11:48 p.m. Uh, Final Fantasy 14 online director would love to see Square Enix MMO on a Nintendo platform. So the reason why I want to talk about this is that I don't remember if Ed and them talked about this last week or if we talked about it at some point. But Square Enix is kind of moving into a quote aggressive multi-platform strategy end quote, and the uh I know that Final Fantasy 14 has been one of the games that has been circled that may or may not come to Switch at some point. And I think the reason why it hasn't yet is not because of the graphical fidelity or the power inside, although that might have some things to do with it, but I think it's Nintendo's online. I think Nintendo's online sucks, and I think that's the same reason why we didn't get Genshin Impact after they announced it coming to Switch because they couldn't get it, and I think that's why Fantasy Star online, whatever version they're on now, New Genesis, I think is what it's called, isn't there. I think that's why we don't have these games on Switch. It's because their online is so bad, and so when the new console comes out, they better have some freaking online stuff that works so we can get these games because I think Final Fantasy 14 would be great on Switch as well as these other MMOs. Uh, I also think, and this story just is kind of leading into the thing I really want to talk about, which is like I think the Final Fantasy 7 remakes are coming to Switch. I think Final Fantasy 16 is coming to Switch. I think Final Fantasy 15 is coming to Switch. I think they're going to try to just overload the Switch with IP that they haven't been able to put on Nintendo consoles in a long time. You know, the 13 trilogy. We have every single Final Fantasy on Switch up until 12, if you don't count the online games, the mainline games, I should say. And so the Switch 2 seems like a perfect dumping ground for them to kind of extend the life of some of these IP, especially like old Dragon Quest games and Final Fantasy and Forspoken, which was, that PlayStation exclusive for a while. And I don't know if there's a want for that on Switch, but I actually really liked what I played of Forspoken. I am not a real gamer though. I like bad games. So I think Final Fantasy 14 would be great. I know I have whatever version is on the Xbox Game Pass. They gave us a version of some sort, but I don't really know what it is. Um, and so I think having this on the go, or portably, or if you got if a group of friends is playing at like a, I don't know, in like a dorm room or like a lunch table or something, like I think this would make a lot of sense. I think a lot of these companies are seeing the appeal of a handheld device, which is why I think Sony is experimenting with the Portal. And I think Sony and Microsoft are both going to come out with a handheld in the next 18 to 24 months. I think Xbox will be out first, because Sony is kind of focused on their pro console. But I think in the next 24 months, you're going to see that. And I think you're going to see maybe not exactly the Switch, right? One device, but I think you're going to see two devices per. You're going to see two SKUs per generation now, and one of them is going to be the TV box, and one of them is going to be a handheld box, and they're both going to be optional. I think, optional in quotes. Uh, but in terms of Nintendo, I think they hit, and they know what they have, and if they can get the next Switch out before. I was actually kind of shocked that Xbox didn't announce their handheld, because Phil Spencer's been hinting at it for so long, and they said they were going to have hardware announcements here, that they didn't announce their handheld. I am shocked. And the only reason why they didn't, I think, is because they're launching their next generation early, and and instead of a Series S console, they're going to launch a handheld with their next box. That's my opinion. I will probably be wrong. You can mark it down. Um, where was I going? Sony. I think you're going to see another handheld PlayStation, and I think PlayStation 4 is going to be the baseline. Uh, where as long as it runs at PlayStation 4 or higher, you're going to be able to maybe run it on this console or this handheld, and they'll just have like upgradable, versions of it moving forward. Not that the console itself is going to be upgradable, but I think, oh well, my handheld is 5 years old and this new one is out, so these handheld devices are moving into the Apple iPad model, or the phone model, and maybe you won't get one every year, but I think you're going to get some sort of upgraded version every 2 or 3 years now. Uh, and I think that would be really smart, especially because like there's only so much you can do in a handheld device to make it at least look more appealing, right? Like a 1080p screen. I mean, the Switch OLED is a 720p screen, and look how gorgeous it is. And it's, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with higher resolution? So a 1080p screen, you can't do much. Form factor, maybe you tweak the form factor depending on some feedback of your first model, and then your next model will do this, and your next model will do that. But at the end of the day, like, what matters the most, we've perfected what screens look like. Okay, we've perfected that. What these handhelds are going to do is have the tech inside that changes it up. And if Nintendo can stay at one device at a power level that's serviceable, be able to have a hard drive in, or an SSD of some sort in the device. I mean, if you have to like I feel like Xbox and PlayStation, even though they're like looking at it like the way the Steam Deck is looking at it, where yes, your ecosystem can live across multiple devices, but if Nintendo can remain at a price point people can afford, and people can feel like they can get the whole experience in one device instead of two or three devices, like, I don't know, man. I still think Nintendo has a leg up. Plus, like, they have Nintendo games on them, so they already have a leg up. So Final Fantasy 14 would be cool. I think that's an important game to get, whether you play it there or not. It also, I think, depending on if your character saves can be cross-platform, which I would say maybe, but also Xbox had an issue where if you played the beta and you started a new character, you could not import your old characters or something to that effect affected your affected how you use your quote unquote real characters that you have on other devices were affected if you played the beta or accessing the beta on Xbox. I'm not 100% sure how that story goes, but I know there was some funky character things going on. So let's stay at Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster is, quote, real and happening, according to an update. The original leak was part of that NVIDIA leak that happened, I think, in 2021 or 22? 2021. And there was a Reddit thread where some prominent leaker kind of leaked it, and then this leaker got, I think, what was his name, Midori or something. I don't know. I don't keep up with these kids these days. Uh, but the NVIDIA leak was something major that was leaked, and a lot of the games on that list, including Kingdom Hearts 4, were on that list in 2021. And Final Fantasy Tactics was on that list, and Tactics Ogre was on that list. God of War for PC was on that list. Horizon for PC was on that list. There were a ton of games, and there are only a handful of games left on that list that haven't come out, and one of them is Final Fantasy Tactics Remastered, and the other one is the Final Fantasy IX Remake. Are the two Square Enix games. So, and the Final Fantasy IX Remake is all but confirmed to be real because the pre-order bonuses were leaked somewhere under the code name for the game, but all the pre-order bonuses were tied to specific characters, and they are definitively Final Fantasy IX pre-order bonuses from what I've heard. So that's also coming. So if you're excited for that, like me, um, hopefully whatever strategy guide comes out with for it, you don't have to go to playonline.com to learn more about this side quest. Oh my gosh, that was a whole thing. Remember strategy guides? Remember when online stuff started coming around and they tried to fuse the two and it was bad? I do. Anyways, Final Fantasy Tactics, Jason Schreier from Bloomberg has said it is, quote, real and happening. And he provided this update on Game Leaks and Rumors subreddit a few days ago. Push Square originally reported this. And then the online listing included some logo artwork and the game titled Final Fantasy Tactics Remastered. The other game on that was the Chrono Cross Dreamer, whatever that version was called. So the Chrono Cross game was on there as well. Final Fantasy Tactics is awesome. I think War of the Lions is incredible. That was on PSP, I think. Yeah, PSP. And it is the best version of the game. I know Game Boy Advance got a version, and I know the DS got a version, but War of the Lions is the best tactics game. So a lot of people have been chasing that game for a long time. All right, let's see. Is there any more news? I'm pretty sure we got through everything. I'm probably missing something. Shout out to the 7-year birthday of the Metroid Prime 4 announcement. Lollipop Chainsaw Remaster is coming to Switch in September. I really liked that game. Developer M2 wants to bring more games to Switch. They did the Castlevania Advance Collection, Legend of Mana, a couple other things. That's not really news though. I think that's it. I think we did it. News is over. Yeah, The news is over. Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance is out. Let's go through Pack Watch. These are the games that are coming out this week on the Switch. I get my list from GameInformer.com/2024. They have an amazing list of games that are coming out, and it's always updated. I think they update it once a week at least. They always update it almost instantly when games get announced for at conferences and stuff. So what month is it? June? Man, it's June already. Dang. Oh no, June. There we go. Destiny 2, the final shade. No, I'm just kidding. I wish Destiny was on the Switch. I wonder if Destiny will come to the next Nintendo console. That'd be awesome. Oh my gosh, I would cry if it came to the next console. What's the date today? Today's the 16th, so this will be the week of 19th and after. Okay. I'm caught up. Echo Generation Midnight Edition is coming to Switch. That is the Coco Cucumber developed game. It's their second game. Their third game was wow, man, what was that third game called? That was the Alice in Wonderland game. Ravenlock. Yeah, that game was awesome. Ravenlock is awesome. If you have an Xbox or Game Pass or PC Game Pass or whatever, or Steam Deck, play Ravenlock. It was awesome, and they updated it since I played it. It's like a 2.5D Zelda game. Maybe 2.5D is the wrong word because I think you can swing the camera around now. There's camera controls in that game now, which there weren't when I played it. So that game was awesome. Definitely play it. But Echo Generation is that it kind of looks like pixelated Stranger Things is what the game reminds me of. If you see it, you might remember the game. I just could never remember what it was called. So that's coming out on June 19th. Dice Folk is coming out on June 20th. I'm not sure what that is, but that is a strange name, so I have to look that up because that sounds super strange. Dice Folk. I gotta look this up. It's from Leap Game Studios and Tiny Ghoul. It is a strategy game, and it is out on PC already. Let's see. Dice Folk. Dice Folk brings a unique tactical roguelite, shocker, monster catching mechanics. Okay, so it's a roguelike Pokemon game. Great. No longer excited. No longer excited. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree is not coming to Switch. I have had an itch to go back to Elden Ring. I played it for a couple hours and it was fine. Just is a Dark Souls game, but anyways, Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble is coming to Switch on June 25th. This is another Monkey Ball game, and then the big one you should circle for this week is nope, not this week. Next week, I guess. Is it this week? No, it's next week. Sorry, Luigi's Mansion comes out on the 27th, but that'll be on next week's show. Tachia comes out on the 27th too. That game's awesome. Shout out to Kepler. Kepler Interactive. We're friendly with them too, although Kimchika has moved on. Shout out to Kimchika. She rocks. So that's it for Pack Watch. Let's get into these questions. Remember, you can join our Discord, look for the question thread. You can also just leave your questions. We reorganized the podcast section of the Discord. So Boss Rush Podcast, After Dark, Book Club, and Pow Block all have their own channels under the podcast category now. So you can just leave your questions in there whenever you want. You don't have to wait for the thread. You can just leave them there. I will check it before I write the doc, and then I will check it before the show, and we'll read whatever's there. So please, please, please join the Discord. Leave your questions in the right channel, or you can email us at nintendopowblock@gmail.com, or you can look for the Twitter question thread that we try to post every week, or you can join the free tier on our Patreon and look for that question thread as well. Our Patreon, we have a free Patreon thread that you get all the shows in one feed. That's something that I've been exploring and providing. So you don't have to be a paid member. You just show up. You say, "Hey, I want to be a follower of this Patreon," and you get your Boss Rush on Patreon feed, and everything that is free, you will get there. Uh, Very cool. Very, very cool. Early access stuff will come out uh, for free listeners when it's supposed to. Uh, if you pay $1, you get it early. So, yeah, a lot of cool stuff over there. But in general, join the Discord. We will look for your questions there. Our first question comes from Still Sane Shane. We love Shane. Great reviews. You wrote that review on I used your review to write my final shape review in terms of formatting, Shane. Uh I want to shout that review out. I forget what it start with a G. Whoops. Reviews. It was Goliath Depot. Yeah, I used Goliath Depot as my as my final shape writing guide. So shout out to your review, Shane. Check it out. bossrush.net/category/reviews. You'll enjoy it, I promise. He writes in, which one of Nintendo's dev teams do you want to see a new IP from, and what might it look or play like? I'm hoping Monolith or Retro Studios makes a brand new IP. Anything will do for me. Uh, well, Shane, there's good news. Monolith is working on a new IP. They have 2 games in development. One is supposedly a new IP, or at least an IP that's not related to Xenoblade. And then the other one is a Xenoblade sequel. They have 4 teams. So one was working on DLC for Xenoblade 3, one was working on Tears of the Kingdom, one was working on the new IP, and one was working on a new supposedly Xenoblade game. I'm not 100% sure which one, but the other rumor was what they might be working on a Xenosaga trilogy remaster for Nintendo and Bandai Namco, which would be awesome. Ugh, I would love that so much. Uh, but Monolith, I think Monolith would have the best chance at creating a new IP out of Nintendo's stable of studios at this point. Um, I would really love to see a new JRPG out of them, and I mean like a traditional JRPG. Um, I think they have the chops to do it. I think they're great at character building, world building. I think their art is stunning. I think they have. I think the one place, at least from what I've played of Xenoblade 1 and 2 at least, I think the one thing that's lacking is the combat. And so if you turn that into like a turn-based combat system, like some of their previous games, I think I think you might be golden. I also have always wanted a Xenoblade Warriors game at some point. If you're going to keep giving us Warriors games, Xenoblade is like the perfect game for a Warriors game, and we haven't gotten it yet. But I think Monolith has the best chance at creating a new IP. Retro, man, as much as I would want Retro to do something new, they seem very tied to Donkey Kong and uh, Metroid Prime specifically. There was that rumor they were working on that Star Fox game, that Star Fox Grand Prix game, which I still think might come out at some point. Uh, Star Fox Grand Prix was that it wasn't a racing game, but it was I forget what the story behind Star Fox Grand Prix was. It wasn't a racing game, but it also wasn't like a traditional Star Fox game, so I don't remember. Uh and I know that's not a new IP, but that was a new idea, I guess. Man, man, you know what game Retro would really be great at doing would be the Conduit. Shout out to Block's game reviews. If you haven't watched his video on the Conduit and the Conduit 2, loved it. Love it. The Conduit is an underrated Wii series. Well, underrated. Maybe it's not underrated. The first game was very good. The second one got really weird, right? When you see old George Washington and Abraham Lincoln reach through a portal in spacesuits and tell you to come help them save the universe. It's a little weird, but also they made Codename Steam, so what do I know? The Conduit, though, is a really cool Wii first person shooter. Uh, Maybe better than Metroid Prime 3, the first one, in my opinion. But that's a conversation for another day. Um, Man, this is a tough one. I wonder what a new IP from the Zelda team would look like. I mean, they've obviously got combat down and environmental designs down with the help of Monolith. They obviously know how to do crafting and weapon building. I would really like the Zelda team to take a stab at some new IP, some new. Uh, I mean, maybe this is just me wanting a new Zelda game in a different location, right? I mean, we talked about that before, right? I think that was an expansion pass we did a while ago of like, even though Tears of the Kingdom is clearly a better game than Breath of the Wild, why we still prefer Breath of the Wild over Tears of the Kingdom, and it's because of that magic and remembering that magic. And maybe I just want a new Zelda game in a new area, but if it was a new IP, I also wouldn't say no. Um, I also think that, man, I'm trying to think of all the studios Nintendo uses. I mean, yeah, R&D. I think R&D does. Is it EAD or R&D that does the Mario games? I mean, Splatoon was a hit. I would like to see them maybe try something new. Um, I'm just trying to think of what genre they don't have something in that could be cool as a new IP. I mean, the thing is Nintendo has so many IP already and so many genres covered already. I mean, I would. Uh, they really don't have like a story-driven third-person shooter like Uncharted or Tomb Raider. I would like to see some sort of whimsical cinematic, like if I think something like Kena Bridge of Spirits is something that Nintendo probably could have done, like a version of that at some point, right? Something third person actiony, Tomb Raider esque, but in like that Pixar quality art style. Either with a bow and arrow or some sort of projectile. I don't want to say gun because I don't think Nintendo really wants to involve themselves with guns, right? But like I think something Nintendo is weak at is a third person story driven game. It's clearly the opposite of what Sony is good at, right? Like Sony is great at that. Um and Nintendo is not. I'm not saying they're bad storytellers because I don't think they are. I actually think Tears of the Kingdom prove that they're very good storytellers in Breath of the Wild. They're very good storytellers when they focus on that, but they're not that they have always been a gameplay focused company. They've always been a IP focused company. They have never been a story driven company. And so I would like to see Nintendo take a crack at a third person action story driven game like Uncharted. I want some comedy. I want some action. I want some relationship building. Uh, and I think you could do that. I think Nintendo proper could do that. I think Monolith again is the best at storytelling in my opinion for Nintendo. Uh, it's weird because there's like there's like Nintendo in my mind. It's and I know this isn't true because it's all Nintendo, but in my mind it's like there's Nintendo proper and the studios within Nintendo, that big square building that you see in Kyoto, right? Then there's like the second tier studios, which actually have names like Monolith and Retro and Grezzo and some of these other studios, right? And then there's like the third party teams that make games for them, like Koei Tecmo and Factor 5 and Level 5, whatever. Factor 5 is no longer here. Rip. Uh, Bandai Namco, those types of studios, Sora. So, yeah, I mean, I think I would like to see Nintendo proper take a crack at some sort of storytelling game, some sort of story driven game. It doesn't have to be a third person action game, but something story driven, just pure fun all around. I don't know. I keep coming back to something that's kind of like Tomb Raider, honestly. Not in the sense of like being super realistic, and obviously the new Tomb Raider trilogy is gritty, and Nintendo would never make something like that, I don't think. But like, in terms of gameplay, like let's go explore some tombs, let's use a bow and arrow to fight, and maybe do it in some sort of, like I said, Kena Bridge of Spirits is an incredible looking video game. It is an incredible looking uh showcase of what a studio can do. I would love to see Nintendo take a look like that and create a Tomb Raider style experience out of that. Let's see here. Let me check these other places. Is that our only question this week? Shane, are you our only question this week? Man. It looks like it. Oh, I didn't put the Twitter thread out. That's why. Whoops. Sorry everybody who wanted something like that, but you didn't get it. So, whoops. Um but yeah, I think that's going to do it. In terms of a final thought for this episode, which is something I would like to get back to across the board on all these shows, as a final thought, I think I think that video games are in a weird spot right now. Everybody wants something new and different, but these budgets are bloated. And I think we have to find that happy medium of I was watching a video the other day. I was watching a video on Gears of War the other day, a retrospective. I mean, and the time it took us to get, and the time between Gears 5 and by the time E Day comes out, let's say E Day comes out in 2025, right? Let's just say that. And the time between 5 and E Day, we got Gears 1, Gears 2, Gears 3, Gears Judgment, and the announcement and showcase of 4 in that amount of time. And I think the reason why we're so nostalgic for these older generations of video games is because we would get the whole story, or at least most of a story, across one generation. Like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, those games are so like, people love those games. In Chain of Memories, like all those came out within like 4 years of each other, all three of those games. Of course you're going to have nostalgia for that. And then, Birth by Sleep came out like a year or two later, and then we got all these spin-offs and everything. And like, I think the reason why people become so attached to these characters, especially from a time like that, and why, again, I'm going to use Gears of War as an example, people are excited to go back to Dom and Marcus for Gears of War, is because we spent so much time with those characters on the Xbox 360, to the point where like we were sick of them by the time Judgment rolled around, and Gears 4 was announced, and it was like, and now you look at something like, and I think the only company right now that's doing a great job of doing and putting games out to make people care about the universe is Insomniac. Spider-Man's getting new games every 2 or 3 years, and like, yeah, one of them was like an interstitial before two, but like you're still putting something out, right? I mean, Miles Morales is arguably, not arguably, definitively, in my opinion, the best one. Um, there's no bloat. And it's a nice tight 6 hour experience. And anyways, I think the reason why these games, why people aren't becoming attached to characters, and why things like, you know, people get disappointed when things don't come out, or things get announced and don't and take so long, or, I mean, look how many games Microsoft has announced over the last 5 years. How many of them have come out? Three of them, four of them. And like, Hellblade is like the first domino of this new batch of games. And 2024 and early 2025 is stacked for Microsoft, but like, there were years we didn't get games, entire years. What was it, 2021? We had a huge slate of games from Microsoft: Flight Simulator, Gears Tactics. Well, no, Gears Tactics was 2020. No, Flight Simulator, Psychonauts, Halo, and Forza Horizon 5 all came out in the same year for Xbox, among other games. The next year, 2022, there was nothing to play on Xbox. I mean, there was, but nothing significant. And we didn't get anything until Hi-Fi Rush was shadow dropped. Right? I mean, yeah, you got DLC for Forza Horizon, but Hi-Fi Rush was shadow dropped, and it was a huge hit, right? Redfall, whatever. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't think I stuck around long enough to make a clear judgment of that. What I played wasn't very good. I also only played the first couple hours, and the game also crashed on me twice. That was when it launched. Starfield didn't hit the way people wanted it to, but that was, I mean, 2023 relied heavily on Bethesda, you know? And now we're looking at 2024. Microsoft just releases their first party game in Hellblade in May. I don't know. I think these games are taking way too long to come out, and it doesn't give you time to get attached to the characters. It doesn't give you time to, and I think that's why games as a service are so popular. To be honest with you, games like Destiny and Fortnite, even stuff like Fortnite, they are telling stories, whether you pay attention to them or not, or whether you care about Fortnite or not. They're telling stories within that universe that these kids care about, because they're putting new stories out every 3 months, 4 months, 2 months, 3 months. And they're integrating characters that you love into these stories with the battle passes, right? Like, the Fallout season just happened. My nephew was obsessed with it. He's obsessed with the story in Fortnite. He's into the lore. He's into like who all these characters are. Like, he sees all the skins that I have from like early on in Fortnite, and he's like, he's telling me the stories behind all these skins, and I'm just like, it's probably what everybody feels like half the time when I talk about Destiny. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't care. But like, his passion for those stories is like, man, I remember when I was like that for Gears, Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2. We just don't have that anymore. And I think the reason why we have it for Nintendo still is because they are great at making not just a game in the series for each generation, but they have remasters, they have remakes, they have spin-offs, right? Like, okay, so we got one 3D Mario game this generation. We also got a brand new 2D Mario game. We also got a re-release of Super Mario 3D World with an addition of Bowser's Fury. We also got new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe with the addition of the Luigi expansion and a couple new levels. Awesome. We have Mario Kart, we have Mario Party, we have the Mario sports games, and that keeps people involved in the Mario universe. I mean, you look at Zelda. We had Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, two mainline Zelda games. Awesome. One technically a Wii U game, but Everybody associates Breath of the Wild with Switch, so we're just going to call it this generation for this conversation's sake. But we also got a remaster of Skyward Sword. We got a remake, an awesome remake of Link's Awakening. We got 2 Hyrule Warriors games. Well, a definitive edition of one and then Age of Calamity. So they're keeping us involved in the universe, even though the game, like the mainline games, are so far apart. Splatoon, we got 2 Splatoon games this gen. Game as a service, though, right? I mean, content keeps flowing. When that content runs out, maybe you take a year off and you release another one. Keeps going, right? Pikmin. Release Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Announce Pikmin 1 and 2. Release Pikmin 4. Look, you have the whole series on Switch now. They're keeping us involved. Smash Brothers. Battle passes. New what do they call them? The spirits. And that involves every franchise. So you're keeping people involved in that too. And so Nintendo not only does a good job of spreading out their main releases, but they keep us involved in those universes with, and I know people like to complain about re-releases and remasters and remakes, and Nintendo sells you the same game every generation, whatever. Okay, sure, I'll give you that. But also, like, people are still buying them, and people are still involved in these universes, and that's why those universes are still so beloved to this day. That's why people still talk about Uncharted. That's why people still talk about Gears. That's why people still talk about Halo, like that original trilogy, and they still talk about Halo now, because those games, regardless of if you like them or not, they were coming out at a quick pace up until now. And so that my thought is, game development needs to figure out how to bring in and bring franchise. People love nostalgia in their franchises. Developers need to keep people engaged in their franchises. People need to keep people engaged in uh, the characters that they are trying to get people to like, you know. And people are complaining that Horizon is, for Sony, right? There's the third game in development. There's the multiplayer Monster Hunting game that's coming out. Supposedly that's in development. There's this Lego game. There's the multimedia initiative with the comic books and the Netflix animated series that's coming out. And then there's supposedly a remake or a remaster of the first game coming to PS5, which I think that the Lego game and that game are the one and the same, in my opinion. I'm not 100% sure, but that would be my guess. And we gotta figure it out, and maybe Sony's doing it a different way with TV and movies, keeping people engaged with the franchises, even though they're not on the PlayStation directly, with Uncharted and the Last of Us TV show being a hit and Twisted Metal being one of the best shows I've watched in years, to be honest. uh I really loved Twisted Metal. I thought it was awesome. uh so that's what I'm going to leave this episode with. I hope the gaming industry figures it out, because it's not like we're not getting games. We're getting thousands of games every year. We're getting too many games. There are literally too many video games. We just put out a Boss Rush podcast episode about that like a week or two ago. There are literally too many video games coming out. But I think that as much as we love the choice of these new games coming out, I think we are not getting the mix of ongoing franchises mixed with new IP that I think would provide a good balance, and I think that's harming the industry too. So I'm going to leave you with that. I can't believe I did a 2-hour show by myself. But if you made it this far, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Send Ed at that retro code your well wishes. Also, shout out to the Fun and Games podcast. Ed did an episode for them about Metroid Other M. You should check that out. I think it's part of their side quests initiative. And I'm going to do one on Hellblade 2 for them. Shout out to Gamerheads Roger for coming on the Boss Rush podcast the other week, and he's been on the show a couple times. Andre, we still need to get you on. Shout out to you. Miss you, buddy. You're doing great stuff on Instagram. Andre_Wilson, 2 N's in his first name, so ANNDRE_Wilson. And shout out to the Boss Rush team. I mean, not just the podcast team, but the website team. David and the copy editors have put together an amazing staff that keeps our website going and allows us to do a lot of cool things that if it was just the podcasts, or if it was, we've figured it out in one sense as a team, and I'm really proud of the team for getting the stuff out onto the website. I also want to do a better job of shouting people out, because we don't do that enough. I think a lot of times we kind of just show up and do the thing and do what's on the list and then tune out. And we kind of, I don't want to say we forget we're part of a larger group, but when you're in the moment, you kind of forget that you're part of a larger group, I guess. So, David, I appreciate all the work you do in keeping the website organized. Copy editors, I appreciate you all for making sure the writing team stays on top of things. And yeah, you guys are all doing great over there. Also, social media team putting out some good stuff. A lot of After Dark stuff though, guys. Oh man. So anyways, yeah, you all are doing great. I'm proud of everybody on the team who's doing good stuff. And so I'm gonna get out of here. It's 12:30, but I wanted to get this done tonight because I'm at that point where, like, I think Sunday and Monday are going to be the worst of my sickness, so I would not have lasted. So I want to thank everybody out there for watching and or listening to Nintendo Pow Block, the Nintendo podcast for the Boss Rush Network. Follow us at Pow Block Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Follow at Boss Rush Network for everything else. Check out our reviews, our Boss Rush banters, all that kind of stuff, features, listicles, all those things. Check out our family of podcasts. Check out our Patreon. Again, there's a free tier. You can join for free. And did I miss anything? I don't think so. I don't usually outro this show, so I'm kind of lost a little bit. It's fine. BossRush.net, YouTube.com/BossRushNetwork. Subscribe, rate, share, like, review, wherever you listen or watch. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.